Hey guys, how's it going? This is going to be another one of those no gameplay ones. You may notice a new tank down there. You'll get to see that later. But for now, I did the Russian one the first time. This time, however, I'm going to do. I did do the Russian one, right? You, yeah, yeah. Did I do the Russian one? Oh my God. You know what? Let me check real quick before I do something stupid. Yes, I in fact did the Russian one the first time. I mentioned the Russians were the brawlers, etc., etc. Anyway, I'm going to do the German tanks this time, and there's a recent patch that changed the tree around, you might notice. It's a bit more complex than it was before. Um, but I'll tell you what I know about it. Obviously, I don't have all the tanks researched, so some of this is hearsay, some of this is from beta, etc., etc. But you start off with the Lek tractor, otherwise known as the LOL tractor, or the LOLs tractor, or the, oh my god, it's a tier 1 tank in a tier 10 match. But this tank is actually the most accurate tier 1 tank, and that's going to set the bar for the rest of the German tanks. And you'll see what I mean in a second here. You get a couple of 2 centimeter guns, which are actually smaller than your starting gun, which is interesting. I believe both of them are rapid fire. Yes, both of them are rapid fire guns, meaning the burst fire guns. And then you can unlock a bunch of tanks from here. The Bison, which is a special SPG, Panzer II, which is one of my favorite tier 2 tanks, Panzer 35T, which is also fairly decent, and the Panzer Jaeger, which is a nice competitor for the AT1, not quite up to par though. But anyway, the Bison, the reason this is a special artillery is because tier 2 with a 15 centimeter gun is obscene. It has the same gun as the Sturmpanzer II, which is a tier higher, which means it also has the same matchmaking as the Sturmpanzer II. Um, so Bison equals Sturmpanzer II as far as artillery goes. The Sturmpanzer II has a higher rate of fire, I believe a bit more distance on the shots, and more health, obviously. I believe it's also far more maneuverable once it's upgraded. Um, but for the medium line here, which is the Panzer II all the way down to the E50, including the DB, and technically including the 3601 and also including the 3001P, and the Panzer IV, this is freaking full of medium tanks, just willy-nilly everywhere. But the main medium line is the Panzer II to E50, and you can take side routes to other medium tanks. The key thing for German tanks is their accuracy. So, like most of the tanks are highly accurate. The Panzer II is quite accurate, I believe. Its gun is, I mean, for a tier 2, .39 accuracy, not too bad for tier 2. Pretty sweet armor, 30 millimeters of armor. But then you get down to here like the Panther II and its top gun, .26 to .28 accuracy. Compare that to the German guns or the Russian guns, which are like .34 to .4 range. Anything below .3 is extremely accurate. You can hit weak points from 300 plus meter ranges. Which is very useful, which means the German style of gameplay is actually a bit harder to get used to, because that means you'll want to max your view range and max out your gunner. Obviously, a gunner is very important to have for a German tank, so that you have the maximum accuracy and you can hit people from way far away. Some people like to use camo training on German tanks, so they can sit in the back and they won't get spotted unless they're like under 400, 350 meters or something like that. So you max out your view range so you can see people 500 meters away. You can hit them that far away because of the accuracy, and then you won't be spotted. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. Whoops, again, I didn't mean to click on that. I don't know why I'm clicking to begin with, just whatever. So all of the German tanks are highly accurate. The the medium line is really meant to be a sniper line. The DB and the E50 are kind of exceptions to that, but the Panther, Panther II, 3001H, kind of a sniper. Panzer IV is definitely a sniper, so you want to keep those tanks at range. The DB has some spectacular armor for that tier. I'm not sure like what's up with it, but I've bounced some ridiculous shots off of it. Like it says it's less than the Panther, it's 80, the Panther's 82, but like I've bounced some ridiculous shots off the DBs, and I've seen people get steel walls in high tier matches with those. So yeah, that's pretty shit. And the E50, the new tank, has the same gun as the Panther II used to have. Very good gun, also BU-105. And it's very highly armored. The thing with this thing is it's huge. It is basically a King Tiger, um, Well, basically just a King Tiger. It's 120 front armor, 185 on the upgraded turret you just saw there. And this very expensive engine right here, 50,000 experience for this engine, is 1,200 horsepower. People were complaining that it wasn't maneuverable in the final test patch or whatever. I didn't quite agree with them. The E50 is very maneuverable, high acceleration, high turn speed. I'd say it's pretty close to T54 maneuverability and usefulness terms, but T54 has the top speed and stuff like that. It's better as a scout, better at brawling and stuff like that. E50 can brawl if it's in that situation. It is possible, but it's better for you to be at distance, take advantage of your armor and accuracy and penetration, stuff like that. As far as the artillery line here, which is on the left side as I scroll over it, it's actually got some huge changes in it. The early artillery, the West Bay, the Grill, have some nice range compared to the other artillery tiers at that tier. You can hit across most maps. You got really nice range, fairly decent. I believe they have fairly decent accuracy, .43, not too bad. Decent damage, not high damage like the Russians. The kind of the middle ground as far as artillery, in my opinion, until you hit later tiers. The Hummel is some people's favorite artillery, not so much mine. It's a very maneuverable artillery, very quick, very nice turn rate, 29 turn rate, 40 speed limit, very nice acceleration. You can get that thing moving around nice. It's got a good gun traverse, which means you can lock your tracks and stay locked for quite some time. And then there's the GW Panther, which is supposedly a huge improvement over the Hummel in every way, shape, or form. It's got a better gun with more damage, more accuracy, .38 accuracy, which is very, very nice on an artillery. You really shouldn't be missing shots on that thing. High speed, again, 48, 25 traverse, and the thing about this particular artillery is the gun traverse angle. Some people said it was supposed to have a 360-degree turret traverse or whatever in real life. I guess it could do that. But in the game, it has something like what is it? Excuse me while I yawn there. I didn't get much sleep last night. But anyway, it's something like 75-degree gun traverse or something like that. I'm not particularly sure exactly, but it is huge gun traverse. Like in some maps, you can hit half of the map without ever moving your tracks, which is very helpful. You don't lose really any accuracy inside of that range, but the problem with that high range is it's balanced in a way that a lot of people don't notice, and the same thing for the Hummel. The instant you move your tracks, you lose basically all of your accuracy, and your aiming reticule just gets massive. So you really got to try and set yourself up so you never have to move your tracks when aiming at targets or anything like that. And then once you get past the Panther, the Tiger is basically the opposite of the Panther. It's got this 21 centimeter Mars gun. I believe it's Mars, MRS gun. I guess it's a Mars gun. Huge damage, you'll notice. Terrible accuracy, .51 accuracy. And here's where the rate of fire drops like a rock. 1.7 a minute. As opposed to earlier where it was, what was it, like freaking 2 something a minute? I can't remember. Yeah, 2.92 a minute. Almost 3 runs a minute drops down to 1.7. And the GW Tiger has maybe a couple degrees of gun traverse, but the trade-off is when you do actually move your tracks, you don't lose a whole bunch of accuracy. But you do lose accuracy, so you gotta set it up properly. You gotta lead blarga, English, man, English. You gotta lead ahead of your targets, a couple seconds, 4 or 5 seconds, just to make sure you're aimed in when they get there. But the thing about the GW Tiger and the GW Type E, which uses the same gun by the way, is the splash damage. The splash damage on these guns is, let me see if I can actually find that real quick. All guns, high explosive. Let's see, 21 centimeter Mars gun should be around here somewhere. There it is. Let's see. Look at that explosion radius of 7 meters. 7 meters is very large. You can get multiple kills if tanks pile on top of each other like that. You also have these premium high explosive shells, which give you a hint that you should be using high explosive and not AP with this tank, even though you have the option. But a 10-meter explosion radius on your high explosive with that kind of damage, even if you don't hit the target, you can hit multiple targets, you can hit next to the target, you can hit pretty far away from the target, and still get some serious damage to whatever you're aiming at. So both of those are quite nice. The GW Type E is supposedly fairly maneuverable for its size. It's freaking huge, by the way. Like, massive huge. I think it's on the E series hull. E100 hull, is it? I think it is on the E100 hull. Kind of. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But it's got 80 front armor. It's actually pretty nice front armor. You can bounce the scout tank shots when they come up and fire at you. And the thing about the GW Type E is it has these side skirts right here, which actually negate all splash damage. If you do not directly hit this GW Type E with like an artillery round or your counter battering, you will not kill it. You won't damage it, you won't track it. I'm not sure if that's a bug. It's actually quite cool though, because that thing is an absolute beast. Because even if you spot it, it's going to be moving. You got to directly hit it. You got to get real lucky with that to actually kill one of those things. And they have 660 hit points, which is actually a fair amount of hit points. So you're not going to kill it with one hit from a tank or anything like that. But anyway, on to the two heavy lines here, which start with the 3601 and the 3001P. Or the DB if you're going to go that way, but you know, whatever. Technically start with those. The 3601 will be a heavy tank eventually. I'm not sure when that patch is going to happen. But anyway, you have the Tiger and the Tiger P. In my opinion, the Tiger P kind of negates the point of even having the Tiger. You compare the two. They have identical guns, by the way. Exactly the same gun. The max gun is the 88L71, which is the long 88 historical gun. But you look at it, the Tiger P has 200 front hull armor compared to 100. And you don't see it here, but the max turret armor for the Tiger over here is 100. And for over here is 120 for the upgraded turrets. Same everything else except speed and turn rate. This one has a higher speed, but it'll never hit that speed due to weight. Which means that, in my opinion, the Tiger P is actually a better tank than the Tiger 1. It also has a forward-mounted turret, which makes it very good at peekaboo, because you don't have to expose so much of your hull to poke around the corner, which is interesting. And then you have the Tiger 2 versus the Ossif A VK45, which is basically the opposite. In my opinion, the Tiger 2 is far superior to the VK45. The key thing to note here is the Tiger 2 has more armor, way less speed, which is interesting. Even though I think it has basically equivalent acceleration, has more hit points, just slightly, not really too much, and it has a better gun. You can't see it here, but you see here this Tiger 2 gets the long 105, which is a 25mm boost in penetration, I believe, which is quite nice. A little bit better in accuracy too. But you see here in compatible vehicles, there is no Ossif A, which means this VK45 here does not actually get that gun. It only gets the short 105. You can see here, which is kind of disappointing. It lacks penetration, so it's not going to be penetrating a whole bunch of things from the front, which makes it kind of bad at tier 8, I guess. But the maneuverability is alright. It's the IS-3 of the German line, basically is what people call it. And then at the tier 9 for heavies, you have the Ossif B VK45, which is the old tank that branched from the King Tiger, and the E75, which is basically a Tiger 3. You'll notice that the E75 has less frontal armor technically than the VK45. They both have identical guns, same rate of fire, I believe. And the upgraded turrets on both of these are also identical, if I recall correctly. Let me check that. What is this? Yeah, huge turret armor on these, by the way. 252, 160, 160, and 252, yeah, same turret. Oddly enough, you have to research both of them separately, but it's the same turret. So they have identical turret armor. Both of their front hull armor is huge, like massively huge. A lot of tanks have a hard time penetrating these things from the front. The advantage of the E75 is its maneuverability. It hits top speed really quick, nice acceleration. Doom is messaging me again. Nice acceleration, decent traverse speed. It's higher than 18. It says 18 there, but in my opinion on the test server it was far quicker than 18. And that's really it. E75 is more maneuverable. VK45 is slightly more armored. The problem with the VK45 is the rear-mounted turret, which means it is very bad at playing peekaboo around corners, whereas the E75 has the central mount turret, which makes it far superior at that, and enables it to play peekaboo with the other heavy tanks. At the end of the line, you have the Maus and the E100. The Maus recently got nerfed, as people put it. I say it's fixed. It was hugely overpowered. It had 3,200 hit points because of an armor bug it had, but they fixed the armor bug, so they dropped it back down to the original 2,800 hit points. It's still a beast of a tank, in my opinion. When you compare these two, you see the turrets. This turret here is very weak. Not much armor. This one here is very powerful. The Maus from all sides is hard to penetrate. E100 can be pinned pretty easily from the side, and the sides of the turret are quite easy to pin as well. I believe they start with an identical gun, but you might notice the E100 is not elite. It has research. I swear it had another turret, but I guess not. I guess they removed that. I wasn't paying attention. But it has another gun. This tank is meant to replace the T-30 because the T-30 is going to be dropping down into the Tier 9 tank destroyer slot for America. So it's got the heavy-hitting 750 damage gun, but it's got reduced penetration compared to the T-30. I believe close enough fire rate. There's really not too much of a difference. The accuracy is kind of bad, though. So the E50 is basically your damage dealer. When the T-30 moves, it'll probably be the main tank for Clan Wars damage dealing. Its main advantage over the T-30 is the fact that it actually has armor. T-30 has bugger all armor, so that's quite an improvement. The E100 also has a slightly higher rate of fire than the Maus for the 128 gun. And finally, this is a friggin' long one, my god. I've been talking forever. Probably because there's a million tanks on this tree. Finally is the tank destroyer line, which some people say are like ghetto broken, but whatever. The Panzerjäger I talked about earlier, decent tier 2. Marder 2 is a beast of a tier 3. Has a 76mm gun, 125 damage, 118 pin, absolutely demolishes tier 3 tanks. I mean, it did more than half of the tier 3 tanks damage and or health and damage, you know what I mean. It does a ton of damage. Then you have the cute little Hetzer, a very heavily armored tank destroyer for tier 4, 60 hull armor in the front, sloped at a huge angle. And it also gets the 105 stubby gun here. I haven't elited it because this is a long time ago and I just bum rushed through it. But 350 damage, 64 pin. It's actually pretty good for tier 4. Stug, as you saw, is one of my favorite tank destroyers for this line. I sold it, and I'm going to buy something else I'll talk about in a second here. Highly maneuverable, and when I say highly maneuverable, I mean very highly maneuverable. 40 speed limit, 37 traverse speed. I'm pretty sure that's not upgraded as well. Yeah, 44 traverse speed upgraded. Friggin' 440 horsepower engine when it's upgraded. Very maneuverable tank, and it comes with the L70 that the Panzer IV has, which is a very nice gun. 130 pin or something like that, 100 something damage. Very nice gun. The Jagdpanzer IV is one of the more hated artilleries, or tank destroyers, not artilleries, because of its lack of penetration at tier 6. It has a max of like 136 pin average, but it has decent armor. 80 sloped at a pretty nice slope. And it has very, very good camo. The Stug, Jagdpanzer IV, Hetzer, and Marder 2 all have like the best camo ever in this game, really. But then you hit Jagdpanther, a huge decrease on camo. It still has camo according to people. I'll buy it back eventually and throw Camo Crew in there and Camo Net, and I'll keep it for a grind tank. But this is a spectacular tank. It's really squishy, only 80 armor. A bit more than the Su-152 and at a better slope, so it's not as squishy as that. And in my opinion, it has a better gun. You have a choice, and this is one of the only tanks in the game where you have a choice between guns to use. You can either use the 88 long or the 105 short, as it is, or medium. I guess it's the 105 medium, L52 here. They both basically have the same pin. The difference is accuracy by .02, which isn't too much. That's manageable, and damage at 220 versus 320, and the fire rate, obviously. The thing is, the reason you have a choice is because both of these guns actually do equivalent damage over time, DPS or dots or whatever you want to call it. Over, like, if you just shoot a tank repeatedly as much as you can over, like freaking a minute or something, these two guns will do basically the same damage. Um, so it's either, do you want to do more damage per shot with the 105 and spend 1,000 credits a shell, or do you want to have the faster rate of fire, lower damage, and lower shell costs at 250 a piece of the 88? When I buy it to just, have it for fun and grind up some money, I'll probably be using the 88, because you'll get a ton more money using that. The 105 typically nets you a bit more experience, though. And the tank I'm on right now is the Ferdinand, still not upgraded, which means I despise this fucking thing. It is basically a brick wall. 200mm hull armor at the front there. But the problem with it, when it's not upgraded, it is literally an elephant. Pun intended. For those of you who don't know, this is basically an elephant with a machine gun on it. But if you don't have the tracks or the engines, this thing is a freaking land whale. And the 128 is what really makes this gun, because of that penetration and that extra damage compared to the 105, which was on the Jagdpanther before that I showed you. 46 extra pen, a whole bunch more damage, so that's really what makes it what it is. And then the Jagdtiger, which is actually the most useless tier 9 tank destroyer ever, has 250 front hull armor, but that is only on the superstructure, which is this top box part up here, which is mostly gun mantlet anyway, which means people won't shoot at that because it's fucking impenetrable. Because German gun mantlets are hard to pin, trust me. But the hull armor is the same of the King Tiger, which means it's 150 right there and 120 on the bottom down there on that lower slope. Which means everything just shoots your hull. So if you're not hull down, everything's just going to shoot your hull anyway and just kill you like that. The gun it has, though, is actually pretty decent. 6 rate of fire, 276 pin, which is quite nice, 352 with gold rounds, which is obscene, 560 damage, which is the lowest of any tier 9 tank destroyer, including the T-30 when that gets moved over. But .29 accuracy makes it by far the most accurate gun. Sadly, the Ferdinand and Jagdtiger have bugger all worth of camo, so you can't really hide these things. Basically, you're going to use them mostly as assault guns or far-range sniper weapons. They work far better as sniper weapons, by the way, for those of you who know. Yeah. But there you go. I guess that's it for now. I will see you guys next time for the UEF. God, I've been playing too much Supreme Commander. The USA basic breakdown of tanks. I'll see you guys next time.